Welcome to episode 1 of Reddit Real Estate Disasters. I'm Jen Sylvester, and
I am Jackie Baker.
we're here to dissect these Reddit articles. And the format is going to be that Jackie is going to handpick the best and the worst and the most gruesome, craziest Reddit stories. And she's going to read them, and I'm going to hear them for the first time. I've never heard them before.
Ooh,
And then we're going to talk about it. And it's going to
yes.
be very interesting.
Very,
So,
very excited.
should we dive right in, Jackie? I'm
Let-
excited. I'm a little nervous. Not really nervous. I'm more excited about what you've cooked up to see to hear what
I'm
hear
a,
what
I'm
you
a
got.
little excited. I got to tell you, when I was searching Reddit, I found some good stuff, but I found some good stories that could help people because look, as we know, Jen, the past few years with the housing market and people bidding the bidding wars,
It's gross.
waiving things, waiving inspections, appraisals, and all that, it can be disastrous, right? So this week I found a story under Reddit, and it is called "What Are Your I Waived Inspection Horror Stories?"
Oh boy.
So
Oh boy.
now, listen, I've heard worse from other people in my career and and in my own experience, but there's a couple of stories here I want to bring up, and so let's have at it. Jen, tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
So this person writes, and this is under the first time home buyer Reddit, and this person says regarding waiving your home inspection, he says, don't do it. I almost waived a full inspection because I had a structural engineer come inspect the property, and he has in parentheses, had what my architect boyfriend perceived as structural damage. The structural engineer gave the all clear and said it was a minor issue. My boyfriend works on super tall skyscrapers and said he wasn't convinced. I told him that he was overreacting and we didn't need a full inspection. He ended up convincing me, so we decided to hire a well-known inspector in our area who was also a contractor. Essentially, he said the home would collapse and that the structure engineer was wrong. He said it could take years before it collapsed. It was a brick structure south facing. The side was tearing off the rest of the structure. He said that the home was a teardown unless we were willingly to put $200,000 to $300,000 into the breakdown of the structure and essentially put it back together. Had we foregone the inspection, there is no way we could have lived in that home, and we probably would have gone broke. The inspector said that in his 30 years inspecting homes, this is probably the worst home he had ever seen, and he was surprised the structure was still standing and told us not to purchase it. I ended up using the same inspector for the home I'm currently under contract for, and it only has minor issues, thankfully. So, Jen.
All I can say is the sellers. Like, seriously, dudes? Like, okay, how does somebody live in a house and not have any clue that their house is that bad, that it's completely about to fall to the ground? Like, it's so structurally unsafe
Exactly.
that it needs to be torn. Like, I can't. I mean, hey, in society now, people are so clueless. They're walking around. They have no idea. They're
True.
completely clueless about things, and they don't pay attention. And they got the phones and all the things and stuff like that. But number one, okay, how do you not know? Number two, like, if they did know, like, come on,
Yeah.
Slimeball City, you didn't like disclose that,
It's
and
just going
you
to
think you're going to
say,
get away with it?
but how? So if this house, I know it doesn't go into details whether or not this is listed with a real estate agent, but hello, you're right. Disclose that. If you're not disclosing that, that you're setting yourself up for a major lawsuit right there.
Well, not even, so much even, I mean, yes, that, but like, how about it's just the right thing to do?
Uh huh.
I mean, can you imagine, like, you're selling to this couple or whatever, it's selling to anybody,
Yep.
and you're gonna just be like, oh, sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
know.
I didn't know. How can you not know that? But now,
Scumbag.
right? Like, how can you not know? Especially a structural issue like that, unless the people haven't been living in the house. I mean, that it doesn't go into detail about that. But what came to my mind when I was reading this, it's like, okay, they called in a structural engineer, and the guy's saying, oh, it's just a minor issue. And then the inspector comes in and says, oh, no, it's not. It's major, whatever. So that raised a red flag on the home inspector. And hear me out.
Okay.
Sometimes there are home inspectors, and we actually have a known home inspector here in my area that is notorious for going on a home inspection, making mountains out of molehills, scaring the bejesus out of the home buyer, only for them to cancel the sale,
Yep.
go to another, then go and get under, once those buyers get under contract again, they'll hire that same inspector so he can charge them again and say, okay, he can, and he's done it multiple times. He'll go
Right.
to the second home and say, yeah, I wouldn't buy this house. There's something wrong with this one too. And then he's making money off of them. Now, the reason I know this is because an inspector that I recommend a lot. He has done home inspections after this notorious ripoff inspector has done inspections. And when, the inspector I've used, he says that this guy he's making the big issues out of nothing. Like, and the guy I use is very thorough. And he's like, this guy is making stuff up to make money off of home buyers. So this is why I'm like, be
That's
careful.
you're not wrong.
No,
You're not wrong. I mean, I had a situation years and years and years ago. And trust me, like, it's like, the older you get, the more feeble your brain gets. You don't, you can't hold
Yep.
on to all this stuff. But I remember this particular one like 20 years ago. And it was a 2-3 story contemporary house. It was near the water, but it wasn't on the water, and it had tile floors, right? All tile floors, which is unusual for our area to have like tile, like in the living room area and stuff like that.
Right.
But it was big, like 24-inch tiles.
Yeah.
It had cracks in the tiles, right? It had cracks in the tiles that I mean, if you drop something, if settling, maybe they weren't installed correctly, that's, that stuff happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
This guy, he didn't basically, he told these buyers, and they were first-time home buyers, so they did not have the benefit of owning another house to know, like, from experience.
Right.
He told them that the entire house was structurally unsafe because of the way that the tiles were cracking, and that that they should absolutely not buy this house because the tiles, because of all the major cracks in the tiles.
Right.
So you are, I'm like, that in that case, okay, I am not a home inspector. I am not a contractor, but
No.
I'm not, that was either somebody dropped something or it was probably shoddy installation on the tiles.
Yep.
It was not a structural issue. It
No.
was not a structural issue. So,
but what that home inspector should have done, and the home inspectors in this area generally would do, what they'll do, they'll make a note like something looks suspicious, and they recommend to do another, get a structural engineer, or if they see there's something wrong with the fireplace or the chimney, get a chimney inspection done.
Yep.
They'll make those recommendations. And I always tell my, my people, like, what, follow through with that. Definitely follow through with that, because the inspectors have to be careful with what they say too. Right.
Right.
And that's just the right thing to do anyway. I mean, you've got to refer it out. If it's not, listen, if it's not your expertise, stay in your lane, right? You can't just go in and say, oh, the tile's cracked up. It's going to fall apart. No, it's not. Like, you don't know that. I'm saying it's not, but you don't know. Get somebody else's opinion.
So so this story, right? Didn't you say that the boyfriend was a structural engineer?
The boyfriend works on super tall skyscrapers. So it doesn't say if he was an engineer, maybe he's an architect or something. So he saw it too. Like something was off.
Did you say that he said he saw it and wasn't sure, or
So he didn't agree with the structural engineer, because the engineer gave the all clear, said there was a minor issue, and the boyfriend said, the boyfriend wasn't convinced, and he said, we need a full blown inspection. You know what? this is where I get like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
the inspector. Here's the thing.
You're bringing up a good point, Jackie. Now I'm wondering, like, what's the validity of that claim of $200,000 tear down the house? Maybe it was all BS.
Because the guy is also, I think he's also a contractor too. That's the other thing you
Oh,
got to
there
be.
you go.
Right. So in that case, get a second opinion from another engineer. Why would you go and get just rely on a home inspector? If the home inspector says there's a potential structural issue, refer it out to the structural engineer.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Because those guys, like the home inspectors, I mean, depending on what state you're in, right? I mean, in Massachusetts, where I'm at,
Yep.
they have to be licensed. Home inspectors have to be licensed. So they go through tests and all this kind of stuff, but they're still, they're basically jack of all trades.
They are.
They're not plumbers, they're not electricians, they're not all these things. They're kind of like, they're going through and they do have like protocol and checklists and all the stuff, but they're not experts. Down in Jersey, where you're at, are they licensed or inspectors licensed?
Absolutely. They're licensed. They have like a whole rigorous, program that they have to go through to be licensed. And, unfortunately, there are some that are just not, like say the ones that don't charge as much money, like say guys who used to be contractors, like, oh, I'll become a home inspector. And, they charge maybe a few $100. They're not, I don't know. And just in my experience, I just feel like they are not as thorough. And I think they just were in it just to they figure they're going to make more money and, make a lot of money. But I think also with the hopes to get some work out of it, right? Because if they were a former contractor, or like you said, jack of all trades, maybe they'll call me in and, I can do some repairs for them once they close on this house, So you have to be careful who you're hiring. So you either go by the recommendation of your real estate agent, and your real estate agent should be providing 3 names of a home inspector, right?
Yep.
And
it could be.
If not, if you're not going to go by your real estate recommendations, talk to your friend or family who just recently purchased a home and get their, who did they use to inspect their house?
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? Go.
We do. I do.
Girl.
It's just crazy. That's just bonkers.
Or getting somebody off of Angie's List. Like, do people still use Angie's List? I mean, don't do that.
I don't know. I actually went on Angie's List not too long ago. And because I was looking for a new plumber, and for myself even, and contractors are so hard to come by.
Yes.
We've talked about this, that there's not enough people in the trades. There's not enough people out there that are doing that type of work. Contractors, electricians, plumbers. There's just such a shortage that it's so hard. And then it's like you get somebody and you're like, are they actually good? I don't know.
But you know what I find helpful now? If I'm looking for a recommendation of a contractor, painter, whatever, I go on the Facebook groups.
Did you just say the Facebook?
What?
You say the Facebook?
The Facebook.
Jackie Baker.
The Facebook. No,
I go Facebook. Come on now. Come on now.
Go on the Facebook, town groups, mom groups, whatever, such and such town, moms and dads, whatever. And, look for recommendations. I've gotten amazing, recommendations for contractors, painters, what have you, HVAC through that, Angie's List, I don't know. No, thank you. Reach out to the people in your community to get those recommendations. That's how I feel about that.
So I say, if we were to put a pin in this one, right?
Yeah.
And maybe our final thoughts, I say, I put a big question mark on this one, on the validity of what all the things, the home inspection, whether the home inspector, I think the home inspector was BS.
I agree with you. I think he was BS. And because they said they used the same inspector again on the next house. And he's
making good money on them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what jumped out at me when I saw this. I'm like, really? come on, is this guy just like trying to make money off of people? So this,
No, it's a capitalist society. Of course he is.
yes, he is. And this is this is a classic case of buyer beware. You know, you
Yep.
got to be careful. Who are you relying on? But so Jen, somebody else commented on this Reddit on that particular post.
Yep.
And so this was kind of interesting. So this person said they had the opposite experience of what happened to these people. This guy says, I spent 2 years losing out on homes because I didn't waive inspections. Ugh, that makes me sick. I hate hearing that.
Mhm.
Found a home I loved and did a pre-inspection instead so I could waive. I don't understand this. But he said, I was told it was in great condition for its age, well maintained, no major issues, etc. Come to find out, it has knob and tube wiring. The inspector admitted to it after close. Foundation issues also acknowledged after close, and who knows what else. When I think of all the homes I passed on and the great rates I lost out on, worst $500 I ever spent. So now this guy got an inspector who missed. Okay, how do you miss knob and tube wiring?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's like, for those that don't know what it is, it's like big,
Yeah.
big white ceramic
Yes.
cylinders. Like you can't, right? Like you
miss
can't
that.
miss it. And I'll be honest, I mean, there's a lot of old homes down where I live. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I mean,
Yeah.
hello, Pilgrims, 1620. And I mean, knob and two wire, if you have existing wiring, which is what happens with a lot of these older homes, right? You like people like they have the house wired for current standards, and then
Yep.
they abandon the knob and tube. Right. So what he doesn't say is if it was active, if it's
If it was
inactive, like
exactly.
it's not a big deal, buddy. You just gotta take it out. And even and it's like, if it is active, then that's a major bummer because now the cost of rewiring an entire house. But
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah. But and then he also goes on to say here there were foundation issues acknowledged after close, and who knows what else. And so, okay, dude, like, who was your inspector? Like, again, oh my God. Did you did you go on Craigslist to find that home
Maybe.
inspector? Like, what?
Maybe.
Seriously, right? Like,
Yeah, it's
look,
yeah.
they're not perfect. They're not perfect. And like I know here in Jersey in those inspection reports, they have a disclaimer in there and blah, blah, blah to cover themselves,
Yep.
things are discovered after the fact. But something like that, a foundation, that's like probably one of the first things these guys are taught, like what to look for.
Right.
Like,
And
and
the only exception is if the basement's finished. Like if the basement's finished and the walls are covered, then how do you check? There's no X-ray vision.
No.
You can't see through walls.
But
So,
unless,
that's kind of hard, but like whose fault is that? That's not the inspector's fault. That just stinks. However, you can look on the outside,
Yep.
if major foundation issues, if you see a crack on the outside,
yes.
yeah, you just get your deposit back.
Yeah. It's like run away.
Just get your deposit back and run away.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The Monty Python thing, right? Isn't that?
Exactly.
Run away!
Find this. No. No. But yeah, you're right. Like the foundation issues I think they're easily to be found. Like even in the walls, like on the main floor upstairs, you will see bowing in the walls, and I've seen it. I've been on home inspections
I like
where
when you say Boeing.
bowing.
Bowing.
Do I not have my
Bowing.
Jersey accent in there
Yeah.
too? Is that what it is?
Jersey.
Okay.
Do you know Tony Soprano?
Do I know Tony Soprano?
Yeah.
Personal friend. Yes.
Down in Jersey.
Do you want to laugh? Somebody one time on my channel, on my YouTube channel, they commented, they're like, "This woman sounds like she's married to Tony Soprano." Like, oh my God. And wait, is it that bad? Really?
So you better not make a bad comment because I know people.
Yeah, I know. Exactly. I know. Well, I'm from Jersey, so
Jersey. I love it.
oh my God. But getting back to that, like you can see, one thing I've loved about going on all these home inspections all these years, like I follow the inspector around because I want to see what they're seeing, right? I want to understand, right? When they find something wrong, And it's like, wow, really? Oh my gosh. Because I've seen structure problems. We've seen it, like where we've seen the crack in the foundation. I'm like, oh, this is great.
I
So
find that stuff fascinating.
I do too.
I'm a total geek with like, just knowing the mechanics of a house and how a house is
Yes.
built and how it's run and all the things, like,
Right.
I find it fascinating,
Yes.
and it makes me laugh sometimes uh, when I'll point something out and the inspector be like, "Oh, right."
Yes.
I'm like,
I've done that
"Come
before
on, buddy,"
too.
you know?
Yep.
But it's
Oh my
also,
gosh.
it's like, if I can, like, use some of that knowledge, not a home inspector, but if I see something glaring, like, before we get to an offer, and I can tell the buyers, and the buyers are like, "Oh, okay, so it's got knob and tube and whatever, and,
Yeah.
yada, yada, yada. Ooh, that's gonna be, like, super expensive for us.
Yep.
That's gonna be, I think we'll just move on to the next house." Now they've saved themselves the money of a home inspection.
$1,000,000%.
You
Like,
know what I'm saying?
I love that. I know. Like, even
So, I don't know. It drives me crazy in our industry that agents, will just, set up shop in the kitchen. Now, I've been guilty of that. If it's like a young house, and I've been through the house, and the house is spotless, and
mhm,
maybe, I'm catching up with the agent and whatever. It depends on the circumstances, not
right.
not that often, but, you know, normally, it's, you just, following people around and all the things and stuff
Yep.
like that. But a lot of agents don't. They don't. And so when you're having these conversations, like, with the other agent, they're clueless, and then they get all freaked out. They're
I know.
like, "Oh my god, it's knobbing too." It's like, okay, now you got to counsel the client, the buyers, the sellers, and
Yeah.
the agent,
Oh, I know, and the
because
agent
they're
freaks out.
freaking out. It's like,
Yeah.
oh Lord.
And then what I love, it's like, you'll point something out, a defect, whatever, and then you go back to the tell listing agent, and then they're like, "Well, the seller says that's never happened before. They'd never noticed that, and it's a non-issue." Um, it's non-issue for them, but it's an issue for my buyers. Yeah. Like,
Yeah, the
it's
chimney, like, leaning away from the house, well, it's a non-issue because
yeah,
it's leaning away from the house.
right. Right. Yes.
It's like,
Yep.
okay.
Oh, I've
You
had
say
that
so.
where get this one. I get, well, they never used a fireplace, it's not a problem or whatever. I go, but my people want to use the fireplace.
Right,
And
right.
we need a working fireplace. We're buying a house. We need a working
Oh
fireplace. So yeah.
god.
Oh my God. I could go on for days, the
Anyways,
stories.
alright.
But
I'm ready for the I'm ready. Do we wanna do another one?
yeah, let me just
Let's dig in, that was fun.
let me hold on.
Jackie Baker.
Okay. Okay. This is what okay. Yeah, we'll have another good one here.
Let it rip.
You ready?
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go.
This is from the homeowners Reddit,
Okay,
and this is kind of a long one, but you're gonna love this one. Okay,
alright.
this is okay. Mother-in-law was selling her condo. A neighbor knew someone who would be interested, and that someone happened to be a real estate agent who could handle the entire transaction. So the entire commission part of the transaction could be eliminated, with my mother in law pocketing a bit more than if she had her own agent, and the buyer paying a little bit less than if she was using her own agent. Okay, so you got this, right? It's the real estate agent buying the mother in law's condo.
Got
Okay.
it.
All right. Yeah, you can see where this is going. Dual agency where the buyer is representing themselves and the seller. Oh my God. Major conflict of interest with respect to my mother in law. It started off well. Price negotiation was easy. A closing date was set. The buyer represented that they were paying cash, though it was going to take them a little bit of time to get investments sold, money moved around, and the like. But they set a closing date with all that accounted for. The buyer asked for more than the usual number of extra visits to the condo as she was going to massively remodel and update it and needed to bring in a few contractors to get measurements, etc. Annoying, but no big deal. As the closing date approached, the buyer informs my mother-in-law that they were having problems getting financing in order as some of the money is tied up in a REIT, a real estate investment trust. She was having difficulty with this. As a result, she needs to finance a large portion of the purchase with a mortgage, and it's going to take some time to get that arranged. Oh my God, been through this before myself. And that's when things started getting tense. My mother-in-law had moved out and out of state, and she was carrying the cost of the condo, the fees, etc., which wasn't a big deal financially, but she felt the buyer had misrepresented their financing situation, so she was unhappy. Being out of state and having things, wait, sorry, being out of state and having things get tough to deal with in real time, my wife got roped into executing power of attorney stuff. So now my wife is stressed out. The buyer asked for more times to stop in and see the condo. It was denied. Because of financing, closing pushed out another week, another 2 weeks, several times. Then the big ask. She wants to start remodeling the condo before closing.
Oh,
Hell
God.
no.
Oh,
The
God.
buyer/agent tells us that if she was the seller's agent, she'd advise the seller to allow it. Hard no. Now the buyer is quite upset with my mother-in-law. Oh my God.
So I'm going to stop you there for a sec.
Yeah.
So the agent, I apologize. My ADHD is kicking in.
No worries.
So the mother-in-law owns the house, and the agent is
The buyer.
the
Yeah.
buyer. And okay, that's what I wanted to make sure that I understood that
Yep.
because I was
Yep.
getting a
The
little
agent
lost
is
in
the
the
buyer.
story.
Yeah. She's not
Yes,
a very
the agent is the buyer representing herself,
and
purchasing it.
representing, and she's supposedly representing the seller too. And she's not very good.
She's not really representing the seller, but
No,
that's
she's not, but she's whatever. She's
okay.
representing
But
herself.
she's okay. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Oh,
So
continue.
let's go on. The closing date finally arrives. For some sort of convenience for the buyer, the closing is scheduled late in the US Central Time Zone on a Friday. By the time they get around to wiring money around, the appropriate department is closed at the East Coast Bank where the money is coming from. The money isn't going to hit my mother-in-law's bank account until Monday morning sometime. So the closing is done except for money delivery, and mother-in-law refuses to turn over the keys to the place until the wire transfer goes through.
Good for her.
The buyer/agent flips her bleeping lid. Oh yeah, my wife and I are going out of town on vacation Saturday and won't be back until late next week, so we can't deliver the keys Monday. Thankfully, my mother-in-law had the foresight to line up an attorney a few days before closing, and we left the keys with him on our way out of town. The buyer/agent is blowing up everyone's phones Friday evening all the way through Monday morning, upset as hell about the whole thing. But at that point, we just keep directing her to talk to my mother-in-law's attorney. Monday morning, my mother-in-law sees the wire transfer land in her account, tells the attorney they can turn over the keys, and the very irate buyer/agent shows up to collect them. Attorney has a little chuckle on the phone with my mother-in-law about how unreasonable the buyer/agent had been and assures my mother-in-law that she completely did the right thing. Can you imagine?
You know what? I'm just going to say one thing right now. This is why people hate real estate agents.
Thank you.
This is why people have a gross look on their face when you mention real estate agent. Yeah. This is why the whole country is celebrating this whole lawsuit settlement that came down on Friday. Yep. Is because real estate agents are scumbags. This is the perception of our industry, right? And thanks to this wonderful buyer/agent.
Yep. I mean,
that drives me freaking crazy. I mean, thank goodness the mother-in-law had family and people looking out for her, and they put their foot down because.
Right. But thank God she got smart and dragged an attorney in there because it sounded like she was getting bullied by this agent buyer. And I'm sorry,
that was her intention. Come on, are you serious?
Like, But to go say, I want to go and start remodeling before we close. Are you out of your flipping mind? Like, you would never allow that. No. Like, who the hell do you think you are? No. Why would you do that?
No. But you know what? An average consumer, they wouldn't know any better. They don't know the industry. They don't know how this, they're not doing this every day.
Yeah.
So they might, if you have this, like, if you have a good rapport with the other person and you've built like a, like a pseudo friendship, you're like, oh, we're getting along and stuff like that. There's like a
Yep.
perception of trust.
Yeah.
And
My dog.
oh
Sorry.
my God, the dogs. Jackie,
My dog's barking. Sorry.
Jackie, the dogs.
The dog. Shut up. Sorry.
The dogs have a thought on this whole story. They want to be in on this story. They're like, "Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?" But it's just, for sure. That agent was bullying them and taking advantage of their situation.
She
You
totally
know,
was.
and you know, and absolutely. The thing is like you can't. It's very sad, Jackie. I got in this business. Been in this business a long time. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know, 28, almost 28 years, which makes me feel super old. But the thing is I remember back in my day, when they didn't do these kind of things. I mean, yeah, this stuff existed,
Yep.
but not like it is today. Like you can't trust anybody. I mean, you hope that you can build a trust with your agent, and that's why I always tell people, like, you know what, if you find somebody that and that's a referral or something, and that you can really get to know them,
Yes.
to be able to have not just a surface trust, but like a deep trust, to be able to lean on them,
Mm-hmm.
then what they tell you has some value, because people just, like, it's lip service.
It is.
It's all lip service. You know
Yep.
what I mean? They'll tell you what you want to hear.
Yep.
And we see that all the time with when we're representing home sellers,
Yep.
and we're getting like offers from buyers agents. They always like put their best foot forward, but like, I'm telling you, like, I scrutinize, and I'm like, what question haven't I asked yet? Like, I look for problems. I
Yes.
look for holes in
Yep.
the offer. Like, how could this possibly go sideways?
Yep.
Because if I don't, it will.
Right.
Do you know
Exactly.
what I'm saying? Like, if I don't look, like, even with people with large down payments, it's like, hey, can you show me where you got the money? Show me a letter from your bank. They're
Oh,
like,
we do
well,
that all the time.
well, I have the money. Well, that's
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
But I need to see
No, we need bank
that you
statements.
have it, because people, news alert, flash news alert, people lie. You know what I mean?
No.
Like,
Really?
I swear to God, Jackie, I swear to God, they actually do lie. It's
Are they
amazing.
liars? They're liars, Jen. They're liars. The whole lot of them. But telling you. But no, seriously, going back to this story though, it's almost like this agent was trying to pull one over on them, right? Because she's like,
Mhm.
oh, I'm a real estate agent. I know what I'm doing. I'm representing myself, and let me handle it. And for her to say to the seller, when she said, I want to come in and start remodeling, and the owner freaked out on her, and she's like, well, if I was your listing agent, I would advise you to let that happen. What? What? Are you kidding? You think thank God this mother-in-law had, she was no dummy. I'm not
Yep.
stupid.
Yep.
It just so disappointing to me that a real
What
estate
makes me
agent would
angry?
try to take advantage of somebody like that and say, I would advise that if you were my client. Get out of here.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it. It pisses me off.
Yeah, pisses me off too.
You know
Like,
what I mean?
and
It
it's
just,
people
it's
like this that are
wrong.
ruining. They give us a bad name, and it's got to stop. And it's felt like you said, now with in light of this whole settlement, it's bad. It's really bad. People, I'm seeing all the hate online, and I know once this all shakes out, things are going to calm down. There was
Yep.
just a lot of the media is portraying our industry as that, like, we're this money hungry, greedy people that made millions of dollars off of
And
innocent people.
and let's be honest, there are a lot of agents that did exactly that.
Oh yeah.
There are a lot of unscrupulous agents. You and I are not in that group,
Oh,
but
oh
there
yeah.
are a lot. There's a reason why the general public feels the way they do about us.
Yep.
Right. And it's because those people, absolutely, case in point, right? And we deal with it all the time, right? Like, you
Yeah.
get offers and you get these agents, and they're like, they're slimy. You never hear from them. They don't call you back. The
Mhm.
buyers are calling me. I'm representing the seller, and the buyers are calling me for an update. It's like that
Yes.
they have the general public has every reason to believe, to have that feeling. And all I can say is that,
Yep.
from a personal standpoint, like I actually had, you know, my people, my real estate family, I like to call them, you know what I mean? They're like a
Yeah.
lot of clients, but they turn into friends
That's right.
and whatnot. They were actually texting me. They're like, "Jen, are you going to be okay?" And I'm like, "I'm gonna be fine."
Yeah.
With all the upset and the commission changes and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
Just, sharpen my, take some classes and sharpen it, sharpen my skills
Right.
and adapt and whatnot. But the thing is because, the agents that take care of their people, that are doing the right thing,
Mhm.
they're the ones, I mean, maybe, but it's never gonna be like, you know, kumbaya. Like, oh, real estate agent. Oh my God, real estate agents are so great. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I wish they're
Yep.
like right up there with rainbows and unicorns. Oh my
Yeah.
God, that's never gonna be like
No.
that.
No, it won't. It's gonna take a long time to, like, build back or build a good reputation. I mean, listen, like, my people the same way, they appreciate what I do for them,
Yep. Of course
buy
they
and
do.
sell because they don't wanna go it alone. They
They
don't
just wanna hear
understand.
you talk, really. They just wanna hear you say, "Hi, I'm Jackie Baker." I'm sorry. They're like, "Oh my God, just talk some more." I'm just kidding.
That too, Jen. That too. That brings them to me, but,
No, of
um
course. I mean, because it's like having a conscience and actually, giving a crap about people.
But
It's like,
they're trusting us, Jen, with the biggest
I
investment of
know,
their lives,
I
right? So even when they're
know.
selling that property, they wanna make sure they're getting the best price, the best terms, but yet they wanna make sure they are selling it to the right people and are not gonna be taken advantage
They
of,
just
and
wanna know that they're doing the right thing for the right reason. They need they
right,
they need us as a sounding board to be like, "Okay, so how do I do this? And
exactly.
how do I not get screwed? And how do I not have this be a nightmare?
Yeah,
And how do I not make huge mistakes?"
right.
And
Absolutely.
and I just I don't know. I can't majorly I can't sleep at night if it's like I have no filter to tell people like a lie. Like I just don't tell people it's like, oh, it's got a crack in the foundation. Like I had a guy, they're friends now, but I don't know, a couple of years ago, and we were walking around the house and I'm like pointing this out and pointing this out. And he's like, "Jen, are you trying to talk us out of the house?" And I'm like, "No, like I'm just trying to." He's like, "No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding." He's like, he's like, "I appreciate it. I appreciate it." But it's like, but that's what I try to do. And I tell them, like, I'm gonna play devil's advocate, It's like
Yes.
if they're like, "Oh, I love this house." I'm like, "Great, tell me why.
Yep.
Tell me why you wanna convince me why you wanna buy it.
That's
Tell me
oh
why
my
you wanna
god, I
buy it."
love
Like,
that
I'm
line.
never gonna talk someone out of it unless I think they're really making a huge mistake. Like, I'm
Right.
never gonna, like, purposely do that, but I will challenge them to make
Yep.
sure that they absolutely are convinced and they're not getting caught up in, like, emotional decisions because
Mhm.
it's right, the whole thing is an emotional,
Oh,
you know,
oh my god,
shit show. Like, it's like
100%.
you know what
So,
I mean?
what you just said there, so this just happened the other day, and my friend is looking to downsize, and she's like, "Could you go look at this townhouse for me?" And she said, "It does need work." I'm looking at the pictures online. I'm like, "Yeah, it does look like it needs a lot of cosmetic stuff." But so let me take a look at it. And she's all worked up. She's like,
Yeah,
she's by herself, and she's like, I'm just nervous, but I really like the place. And I went in there, and I'm looking at everything that needs to be replaced, plus all the appliances. The dishwasher didn't even work. And then I looked at the washer and dryer. I'm like, okay, this is dating back to like the 70s. I'm like, she's going to have to replace all the appliances, redo the kitchen, the floors.
yep.
And I called her up and I said, look, this is what I say. And I told her, and she goes, you made me feel so much better. because she said, I was thinking about all of that, but she said, you going in there and just, you're seeing it too, and you're telling me what this could cost, because the price they were asking, quite honestly, I thought was a little high, and they had multiple offers on it. So
Yep.
she was getting ready to go in and, like, do a cash deal, asking price, and I said, no. No.
That's what they want. They want an affirmation, what's the word I'm looking for? Not affirmation. They want to be affirmed.
Yes.
They want to be like, it's like, should I do this? And it's like, well,
Yes.
why do you want to do it? Then yeah, that sounds like you should do it.
Yes.
You absolutely should do it. It sounds like you've checked all the boxes. You've done all the things based on what's important to you.
Yes.
What's important to you. Like, it sounds like everything is in line with your what you want to do, what your goals are, and all the stuff.
Right.
And yes, and that's what they need. They don't want somebody to be like, oh, let's talk, car salesman. Oh, it's got a great kitchen, and it's got a stainless steel, refrigerator, and blah 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 blah. It's like, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
If it's too expensive for you, then you shouldn't buy it. Or if the foundation has a crack in it, who cares what the refrigerator looks like?
Right. Yep. Yeah. But I told my husband, I said, when I told him about the conversation I had, I said, I'm probably the worst real estate agent out there, because I'm convincing people not to buy a house.
Same.
Right. That's what
we would probably be millionaires, Jackie.
Jen, I'm telling you, that's what people pay us to do. That's what it's not that, like, I'm trying to make a commission. And like I said this on my live stream the other night, I worked with buyers for like a year or more, and they end up not buying anything. And I made zero, right? People don't understand that the work that we put in could sometimes amount to nothing.
Oh, I have some clients that found me contacted me through my YouTube channel. And 2 years ago, still haven't found it, right? They're ultimately gonna sell their house, and they're gonna buy another. And it's gonna be a payday. It's gonna be, help me pay my mortgage. I got a kid in college and one in high school that will be going into college in the next 2 years. So, like, hello, but pay my bill. But I haven't seen a nickel from that, and it's hours and hours, and that's what I signed up for.
Exactly,
that's what I signed up for. I'm not complaining about it. That's just that's what it is, and it's the whole thing. I heard an analogy the other day about, like, if we were attorneys and we started the clock every single time we got an email or phone call. It'd be a crap ton of money. It would be a crap ton of money. But that's not, we don't set those rules. I mean, I set rules, like, I don't know about you, but like the late night phone calls and I'm sleeping.
Oh yeah.
But and quite honestly, like, it's if the house isn't burning down, like, it can wait till the next day. But the thing is like, it's if you need a phone call, I had a client, just recently, they just nervous. I was like talking to her every other day, and then we get to the closing, and she's like, "What am I gonna do? You're not gonna. I'm not gonna. Can I just call you?"
Yeah, I know. I get that too. They're like, we're gonna chat every day.
I talked to somebody, like, I don't know, like a couple months ago. They're like, I've missed talking to you. Like, we talked almost every other day, and now we don't talk anymore.
I get that all the time. Like, they're like, on closing day, it's depressing. They're like, we're not going to see you.
I had this woman that she was an older woman. She's so sweet, so sweet. And she actually said to me, she's like, she says, maybe you can come over for tea, sometime after we close and do all this real estate stuff. You can come over for tea and we can chat. I'm like, oh, it was so.
I've done that. I've go over to
so
my
cute.
It was
like, oh,
yeah.
That's like, that's the kind of stuff you're like, it helps you push through all the garbage and the crap.
Absolutely, Jen. Absolutely. That's what makes the job worth it. When you have the people, you have good people to work with, and they appreciate you. And, and I stay in touch with them, for years. And, they'll invite me over. When they start having kids, they start getting, pictures of the kids. I mean, it's awesome. It's just,
it is cool. Hey, this story, did they have any? Was there any interesting follow-ups on that one?
So there were, hold on one second. So it says here about, okay, afterwards, it says about 9 to 10 months later, my mother-in-law and wife got a few texts from the buyer/agent. Attached are photos of the very nicely remodeled, updated condo and an apology for her behavior. Wasn't that nice?
Mm,
She apologized for her behavior. So he goes on to say here, lesson. We told our mother-in-law at the very beginning to hire her own real estate agent on an hourly basis. We had one that would have been happy to do it that way to handle this process, even if they didn't need the agent to market the property, because a dual agency situation where the buyer is also the seller's agent was a recipe for disaster. She
yep.
didn't listen to us because of money. Found out what money buys, and in the end, paid out a significant fraction of what that agent would have cost in order to get an attorney at crunch time. You see? So there you go.
Mm.
Lesson learned. Lesson learned. So very nice of her to send an apology and show the pictures of the updated condo. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
Well, and you know what? Can I just say about the pictures, right? So, my personal opinion, having dealt with, you know, and helped, like, you know, certain clients, certain homeowners that are emotionally attached to their house, right?
Yep.
And it's their home. It's not a
Yes.
house. It's their home,
Home.
and they've
Yep.
lived in it. And maybe it's someone that's it's a little older, and they've been there a long time. They raise kids there.
Mhm.
Okay, seeing pictures of of their kitchen that they raised their family in, like, completely remodeled, is kind of devastating to some of those, those people. Like, it's kind of devastating. It's not like, oh, I know, Mr. Miss Seller, that you love your kitchen, but it really is really crappy. So here's
Mhm.
a much better one.
Mhm.
What?
Yes.
Like,
I can
that
see that.
so it's just, you know what I'm saying? Like, people are, not everyone wants a remodeled kitchen. Maybe that's just,
Yeah.
they have attachments to it, whatever, but not everybody. I don't know. It's kind of insensitive.
I agree with
Unless they ask
you.
for it. You know what I mean? Unless they ask for it, but I think it's kind of insensitive.
Yeah, I agree with you. When we sold my parents' house, the house that I grew up in, my dad built the house. He was a contractor. He built it, and the kitchen, oh my god, it was oak cabinets. So
Mhm.
the house is built in 1969, and at that time the cabinets cost him $2,000 back in 1969.
That's a
Okay.
lot for back
Right?
then.
So 50 years, those cabinets were in that house, and he had, stripped them, restained them. They were beautiful cabinets.
Yep.
And I remember my sister and I being like, "Do you think they're gonna rip those cabinets out? Because those have been there, like, forever, and they're the
Mhm.
best cabinets." Like, we were worrying about that, but it's like, look, there's nothing we can do. They're gonna do what they want. But yeah, it goes through your mind, like, please don't mess with that,
Don't mess with that.
Like,
It's
don't
just
do
it's
that.
like, just don't, if you're gonna do it, don't tell me.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. Like, I don't wanna know.
I don't
I
wanna
don't
know when I sell my house someday. I don't ever wanna know what people do to it. You
No.
know what I mean? Like, I have, so the house that I'm in, the people that lived here before me, um, the daughter lives not too far away. And my husband, at the time when we first bought the property, we did a ton of renovations, and we this the previous owners had, like, an affection for trees and bushes
Mhm.
and flowers. Like, my neighbors across the street said that, like, every, weekend, she'd come home with pots, and she'd just stick, and there was just stuff everywhere. And I'm
Mm.
not a minimalist, but like, I don't like clutter. And so we just started ripping stuff out. And then over the years, we had, like, a new grass, and put in with a, sprinkler system. And we redid the deck to these big trellis things that made the deck super dark, and ripped them all out, put new siding. We completely changed the house. And I was in the backyard a couple years ago, and I was leaf blowing, and I live on a corner lot, so, like, my driveway's on the side of my house, so, like, I can
Mhm.
see the two roads. So I was in the backyard, but you can still see the driveway from the backyard, and I was back there leaf blowing,
Mhm.
and scared the crap out of me. I turn around and there's this woman standing there. I'm like, oh my God. I didn't know
Oh,
who she was because it was, I never met her from the house,
yep.
from behind the house. And she's like, oh, we're the original owners. I'm like, oh.
Oh.
She's
Oh, okay.
like, I just want to let you know the house looks really nice. And I'm like, oh my God, she's gonna kill me. I'm gonna die right now. This is my last day on earth with a leaf blower on my back. I'm
Yeah.
dead. I'm gonna, but it was like the neighbors would tell me that this was her, like it was her treasure. Why did she come back? Why did she because the house is totally, she almost wanted to come inside. She was like, "Oh, have you done much on the inside?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." Like it was shag carpet and like
Yeah.
the kitchen was like 3 layers of vinyl.
Yeah.
It was just like we did a
Oh,
lot of
yeah.
DIY stuff. A
Yep.
lot. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, maybe next time."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
there won't be a next time." It was really weird, but it was like I am never coming back to my house. Because
No.
I don't wanna, like, taint the memories I have of my home. Do you
So
know what I mean?
you wanna hear a funny story? So the
Oh,
house I'm living in right now, we're still friends with the previous owners. You ready for this?
yeah.
The people that owned our house bought a house down the street. There was a ranch that came on the market, and they were thinking that down the road, you know, uh, the husband's parents might have to move in with them, and they're like, "This," and the house had a pool. It's a gorgeous house, gorgeous ranch. So they bought it. Literally, you can walk to their house from our house, right? So when we put an offer on this, during the negotiations, my real estate agent was like, maybe you should talk to the wife. Because my husband and her husband were kind of button heads there.
Oh
She's like,
boy. Oh
maybe
boy.
maybe you should talk to the wife, and and she's a mom like you, and blah blah blah. It's okay, great. We hit it off like that. So then once we closed, they were both awesome. So we moved in right before Labor Day weekend, right before school was starting. They had a barbecue, invited the whole neighborhood to welcome us into the neighborhood. Kid you not. And we've been friends with them ever since. This is 12 years.
That's crazy.
They come to our house. They come to the house. We've made changes to this house. We haven't done anything major. The kitchen, we've kind of kept it. We made some minor changes, but we put in new flooring. We painted. Doesn't bother them. They were like, because I felt weird when we first started
That's
painting the
totally
house.
weird.
I felt so weird. I'm like, oh, I don't know. But Jen, I swear it's the weirdest thing. We hit it off, and they invited us, and her husband's a CFO, mine's a CFO. They that's why they were button heads, because they're two businessmen trying to negotiate, and but then now they're great friends. We
Life is weird.
Right? But
Life
listen, it
is
all
so
works
weird.
out. And when I tell you, they were so lovely when we first moved in, because my kids were young, new school system. The wife was incredible, like got me through everything, helping through that transition,
You
like
were lucky.
telling me, where the bus stop was, and with the teachers, like, oh, my son had so and so and this, whatever. It was wonderful.
That's
And
awesome.
then she connected me with other people in the community. Like if I had questions about like Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, oh, you want to talk to this person. And it was, have you ever heard of that? Like,
So safe to say she's not an axe murderer.
no,
That's
they're,
good.
they're
Good to know.
not axe murderers. They're like
No
super
dead
nice
bodies
people.
in the basement. That's good.
But you see, but if my real estate agent didn't connect us, who knows what would have happened? Do you know what I'm saying? Because we connected during the whole process when we were negotiating, and we hit it off.
I have a good friend. Really, I grew up with her, and this is several years back, pre Pandy, and
Mhm.
she did a house swap with a neighbor.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy, crazy. Like it
Oh
wasn't a
my.
neighbor like same section of town, not like neighbor, not like 2 doors down or
Yeah.
whatever, but like literally, 5 minutes away.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just a weird thing
Oh my
that
god.
she was like, "Oh, you wanna sell? Oh, so don't we. I really like your house. I really like yours.
Wow.
That's what they
Can you
did. They
imagine?
bought theirs and they bought hers. It was bonkers.
Oh my
It was
God.
bonkers. Yeah.
Oh my
It
God.
was just, I'm like, I've never heard of that. I've never seen it,
Never.
witnessed it. Like, I've never known anybody that did it until that point. And
Good
they
for
and they
them.
swapped it. It was crazy, and she's been over there ever since. This was actually a while, probably like 10 years ago. But
Good for them. That's great.
anyhow, this was fun,
Anywho,
Jackie.
this was awesome,
Super,
Jen.
super fun. So those that are still listening, thank you so much
Yes,
for
thanks for
stopping
being
by
here.
our first episode 1 of our podcast.
Woohoo! Yes.
And stay tuned. We got more coming, and we
Mhm.
got some more juicy stories cooked up, right, Jackie? Jackie's
Yeah.
gonna
I'm gonna
surprise me every week with a juicy story, and I'll do my best with my ADHD to follow along.
please do.
So until next time, right, Jackie Baker?
Yes, until next time, Jen, we'll have some more good stories for everybody. And yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. Till then.
Till then,
Ciao, everybody.
bye.